Next, we got Laura Kelly coming up. You guys all know her and love her from the Schmoedown. Laura Kelly is, well, we're not sure how exactly this is going to shape up, but she, at least last season, she was on Corruption. We were just talking about Shannon and Mike. Laura Kelly, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing very well. Jay-Wade, can I recommend like the Calm app or something in that realm, maybe for when the power couple conversation comes up again?
Man, my heart is still racing. I feel I make the best argument, but all I can do is make the argument.
At one point, he just yells. He just like yells words.
That's my go-to. When I don't think I can win, I just yell louder.
It's one way to do it. There you go.
Absolutely. But yeah, we're gonna do a little round robin here and ask you some questions about Schmoedown, and then absolutely would be wasted if we did not get your opinion on some Star Wars stuff to wrap it up. So we'll get some Schmoedown stuff going on since this is a Schmoedown show. We're gonna start off with Double D Dan down there. What do you got, man?
All right, Laura, welcome. It's glad to see you again because first time I saw you was at Star Wars Celebration 2019. So I was there in the audience. And you were really good. I mean, you were first round, you were perfect. Second round, I think you were perfect and scored like 4 points worth of steals. You only just missed one question, I think, in the final round. So and we've seen your progress throughout the Schmoedown over the years. So what advice would you give to these new rookies that are coming in that might be in the Star Wars division?
Ooh, it's hard to say because it's like you kind of have to get your own like study methods and then just hold them really secret and don't tell anybody. Because I think that's really been, I think, where I've sort of built an edge, or is where some of my study methods come into play. And then just this year, I learned some new ones from some anonymous sources. And I think that's really the value in the faction system. In sort of forming, alliances around the Schmoedown has come in handy very much this year. I think that the best advice I can give to anybody coming into this game is to you just got to make a schedule and stick to it. And it's really hard this time of year when it's like Christmas and New Year's and TikTok exists. And I have a full-blown addiction to that now. So I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to study now when I get in bed and all I want to do is just sit and scroll for hours. So it's really, that's really the biggest key. Set a schedule, stick to it, have like a calendar written out where it's like, I'm studying this movie on this day for this many days. And that's the biggest, I think that's the best advice I can give to anyone.
And on my end, you had an amazing year this year, but you kind of answered it a tiny bit without revealing any secrets. Do you plan to change anything in your approach for this season? Like, what's your mindset coming in the new season?
For right now, I'm really just I'm trying to just stay relaxed. That's really kind of been the biggest thing. It's been a rough year. 2020 was really hard on everyone. It was really nice sort of getting to know the new virtual process. And we were some of the really early on matches going virtual, were the Star Wars ones that happened back in like early May. So it was definitely, there was a little bit of a learning curve getting used to that. Not having as many nerves now, I think, is going to be the biggest change. Just being a little bit more relaxed with it. I've sort of gotten to know the character part of it a little bit better. And I'm looking forward to sort of bringing that back, but I don't think it's going to be, I'm hoping that it just won't be as much work or as much, there won't be as many nerves maybe this year. Fingers crossed anyway.
Dan, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I thought Jay was going. Okay.
We're on schedule, Dan. Come on.
Sorry. So we all know that since I think in 2019, you wanted to take the belt from Alex. So, but we saw this year that your faction was actually kind of rooting for Alex because the championship would have been over for the faction wars. So what was it like to root for an opponent that you want to take the belt from?
It was funny, and it was strange because they did have a few of us. I mean, I know you all saw at Spectacular, they had a few of us come on and like actually react to that video ahead of time and sort of record a reaction. And I was just like, the whole time I was just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with my face, because I feel like I'm supposed to be rooting against him. It feels weird to root against Alex, but at the same time, our faction worked really, really hard this year. I mean, we put in the hours to our process and our study sessions. I mean, not just me. I think I took a pretty decent break over the summer, but the entire time that I wasn't in on the study sessions, I mean, they were going hard every week, multiple nights a week, staying up super late. And it was even, I mean, I don't know how they did it, but Marisol and Adam are on the East Coast, and it was even later for them than it was for me. I was like, I'm out at 11 p.m. I have to go to sleep now because I'm actually 1,000 years old. But they went real hard. So it was a pleasure, really, to get to see that rewarded in a really big way. It felt really good, as weird as it also felt, cheering for Alex.
Plus, it gives you the chance to actually take that belt away from him. Now, right?
Fingers crossed. Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, well, you're definitely going to have another shot next season at that, taking that belt away. So definitely look forward to that. What you were going to say something there, Frenchie?
Yeah, I'm just curious, hypothetically, if you could encapsulate a moment in your season and store it forever in your memory bank, what memory, what event you went through this season you would encapsulate and just keep forever?
Oh man, that's a hard one. I mean, there were so many really great moments. I think for me, it was really getting to see the positive reaction that I got to my promos. I put a lot of work into those and worked really hard on them. And the fact, it felt weird because I'm not in the studio. I'm sitting here in my bedroom, like, shooting these things, doing take after take, because I was trying to get it all in one, which was stupid. I shouldn't have bothered with that, but I did. But they turned out really, really well, and I was really happy with it. So that was a real pleasure, was getting to see sort of the positive reinforcement I got from that, because playing the heel was not something I was familiar with at all. But basically what I was told is like, okay, you're a bad guy. What you need to expect now is that when you enter a room that there are going to be boos, and that's fine. And I had that wrapped in my mind. But the fact that I had like this whole new cheering squad behind me, that was really, really cool. So I was really proud of that.
Yeah, and I must say, by the way, I am part of Schmoedown North, and they absolutely love you from the last conversation. So they wanted to say a quick hi. But us and the boys were surprised when we saw the promos and saw your SIF site come out. It was refreshing. It was unexpected, and it was exactly what we needed without even knowing we needed it. So it worked 100%, man.
Thank you. Hello to all of them as well. And yeah, I really appreciate it. It was really fun. It was a way to like sort of hide the nerves a little bit and just, I don't know, show a different side. It made it so much fun this year. So I hope that it's not something I ever have to go back to being on the light side. I kind of like it over here on the dark side.
So you found your alter ego. You really found the inner Sith in you.
I'd like to think so, but I also think that I haven't had enough time to really unleash it. I had 2 matches this year, which is more than some players play, and I'll admit that, but it wasn't enough time for me. And that's all I want. I just want more time to get to explore this and to get to show this off and to, take it in different directions. And that's really all I'm begging for out of this free agency and this draft period, is that just let me stick with what I'm doing and see what other places we can take it.
I'll shut up after this because I'm hogging the question. Sorry, but I'm just curious. Now you found your inner Sith. What is your Sith name?
Oh, you mean like not besides like Lights Out?
Yeah, like if you be an actual Sith, what like Darth something? What would be your Sith name?
Oh, I haven't given it any thought, unfortunately. I have no idea. It's a good question. I should probably put some thought into it. I've done those quizzes that are just like you use like the last 4 letters or the first 4 letters of your last name, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, that doesn't really give me anything. So I should sit down and figure out, I should type in the Sith generator name into Google and find one out. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for it.
Well, that's not as fun as making up your own. I mean, is it?
Yeah, but it takes the creativity part of it out of it for me, and any part of the work that I don't have to do, that's that's the thumbs up for me.
There you go.
Just
There
doing
you go. And
you just go to the Polish word of something, and that'll be
There you go.
true. And yes, of course, speaking of Schmoedown is the name of the show, but little known fact here, I stole that name from, I always wanted to have a Star Wars show called Speaking of Star Wars, and I stole that for this show. But since we're here speaking of Star Wars, on Speaking of Schmoedown, there were a lot of new shows announced coming up on Disney Plus. What do you think about it all? What are you looking forward to the most of what we've been let into, or what we've been let in on?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I was not at all expecting the number of announcements that we got out of the Disney Investor Day. That was really intense and really exciting. So that was great. I think the one that I'm most excited for is probably Ahsoka. I know that was sort of a divisive episode this year in The Mandalorian, chapter 13, I think it was, that acted as a sort of backdoor pilot for this new Ahsoka series. But I was really into it. And I thought that was the most exciting thing I've ever seen, was getting to see Ahsoka's live action lightsabers. It just completely blew my mind at every turn. So the fact that I'm now get an entire series of just that, and Thrawn potentially, there is that's the peak for me. I don't know if there's any way that they'll ever be able to top it. So that's the one that I'm most excited for by far.
It's what we call nerdgasm, right? Like seeing the first time Ahsoka, you kind of like lose thought and just like, lose yourself, and never thought that would be possible. And then you actually see it in front of your eyes. It's an amazing thing. I'm curious. I know last time when you talked to the boys of Schmoedown in the North, if I'm not mistaken, we asked you about the new High Republic, what were your thoughts, and you weren't too excited about it. Now knowing this is on a Sith perspective of that time period, did that change your thoughts about the new show in the High Republic time?
Not really. I was excited for the Leslie Headland project, just period. I loved Russian Doll, and I thought she killed it on that series. So I was just excited for what she was doing at all, regardless of what it was. I was sort of surprised to hear that it was going to be something in the High Republic, because I felt like they were so insistent that it was a publishing initiative and nothing more. So I think that's interesting that they ended up going that route, because now I feel a lot more obligated to read those books. And unfortunately, that's the thing for me that's really fallen off this year in terms of my regular reading habits. I can't read a book anymore. I just can't. I wish I could. And I'm hoping that something will get me back into it. But I did read one of the advanced excerpts that came out for Claudia Gray's new book. That's part of the High Republic that comes out in February. And I was very intrigued and really enjoyed that, because I started reading the beginning of, I think the first 8 chapters are out there that you can read of the Charles Soule novel. I love Charles Soule's comics, but that book and the story and the part of it that I read, just the beginning, didn't draw me in quite as much as the Claudia Gray stuff. And I think that really speaks to the strength of her writing. She really knows how to just pull you in and make her characters really intriguing and make you really excited to learn more. So I'm excited to dive further into that book. But overall, the High Republic wasn't a super appealing topic for me. It should have, because we get to explore a whole new side of the universe, a whole new time period. We get to see the Jedi when they were at their peak. But for me, I was just, I don't know. I'm a lot more excited for that Ahsoka show and season 3 of The Mandalorian, and even kind of the Book of Boba Fett, that I am for anything in the High Republic in general. And I'm hoping I'll change my mind once those books release and I can actually sit and I do the audiobooks, just because I literally cannot read anymore. I just listen to them, and that's how I get through them. But once I get through those, I'll probably change my mind and be whistling a different tune, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I do have a follow-up real quick. You brought up Book of Boba Fett. When I first, not my first thought when I saw that post-credit scene and all that was just that was my childhood, dream coming true. I was one of those kids. Boba Fett was shit, man. But then later on, it occurred to me, and I don't know because I just am not. Maybe I hope you know. Is Jabba's son still alive? And if so, is it possible we could see him come back to his dad's palace and challenge Boba Fett?
I
Stinky,
hadn't
right?
given that on a thought, but I love that. Yeah, Rada, aka
Yes.
Stinky, aka Punky Muffin. He has so many great names. He really was. I sometimes get the feeling, I'm like, do you think that they were really kind of going for the Baby Yoda thing with Rada back in the day, and they're like, oh, we failed at that. Whoopsies.
No.
I sometimes wonder. He's got those big bug eyes. He is awfully cute. But yeah, I would be curious to see Rada come back. It'd be really kind of funny to have to force people to go back and rewatch the Clone Wars movie. You all just get to suffer the same fate that I do, having to watch it multiple times a year. But I love that theory. It's a fun one.
And
well, I trust anything by Dave Filoni and John Favreau at this point. So if they bring him back, I'm going to be, okay, let's see what they're going to do with it. So
cross fingers, it's practical props and not digital because, good
Yes.
Lord, digital Hadith does not work for me.
No.
If the boys don't have any other questions, I do have a speculative one.
I had one, but I forgot it. So go ahead.
Fair enough.
All right. I'm just curious. If Disney would approach you, say, hey, Laura Kelly, we want you to write the next book or the next comic about Star Wars, what angle or what character or like what story would you want to tell?
That's a really good question, and I don't know really what I would want to put on screen. I've gotten that question before, and I'm sort of stumped, but I would really love to get a novel from Hera Syndulla's point of view, from Star Wars Rebels. I would love to just like pick up where Star Wars Rebels season 4 ended, get us to where she is in Alphabet Squadron, where she's a general fighting off the remnants of the Empire. I just would like to know what was that entire process for her. We see her a couple times make some appearances in the comics here and there, but we don't know a ton about where she was through the entire original trilogy. And I would really just love to see what was it like having to deal with the loss of Kanan, and we know that they were at Scarif. What was happening there? That's really what I'm hoping for. I would love to get someone like Claudia Gray or Christy Golden or some, established author in the Star Wars universe to write a novel from Hera's point of view, just to sort of get another point of view of what was happening. Even though that is a sort of, the original trilogy is an often explored area of the Star Wars, writing universe. And I want more. So give me more.
But there's so much meat, right? You can still extract it. We're not up to the bone yet in the OG trilogy. Hey, guess what? We got the Shuggiest of the Knights.
Yes.
Mr. Shug Knight. Whoa.
We both.
It's my job. It's my job.
I'm not used to it. I need to stop hitting the buttons. I know.
How you guys doing today? I'm doing good. I heard one of the best Star Wars players was on your show, so I had to come and see her, Miss Laura Kelly, who I greatly admire, and one of the best competitors right now that we have in the Schmoedown, and one of the best characters too. So I came, but I actually had a question, and it was about Star Wars Resistance. No, I'm joking, Laura. I'm joking. I am joking.
The answer is I don't know.
No, mine actually is more of a Schmoedown. We haven't really got to talk to you since your last match, and I just wanted to kind of ask you about reflecting on that match, because I think it's one of the greatest matches ever. You played the best game really that I've ever seen other than Ace, and you stayed in character all the time, and I loved it. I think that match to me is one of the best matches ever in Schmoedown, but I haven't really got to hear from you about that match and your reflection on it. Just wanted to get your thoughts, that's all.
My initial thing is that I probably need to go back and actually watch it. I don't know if I don't think I've actually watched it yet, because that's a bullet I got to put off taking as long as possible. But I know I do need to go back and watch it. Yeah, I remember, that question will just haunt me for the rest of my days, as it always is like that. The Star Wars competition is so rough that, you really have to strive for perfect as much as you can. And I hope that I didn't let it faze me at the time because, you know, missing a round one question, that sucked. It was the first round one question I've ever missed, and it was by 1 point and, you know, one number off that I had written down correctly, erased and changed. And I just like want to kick myself. Although I have watched the Disney Gallery series on The Mandalorian, and Dave Filoni does actually refer to Anakin as a 10-year-old boy in that series. And I'm like, did that get planted in my head and just stay there subconsciously? Like, I should have known how. I know how old every other character in the freaking like franchises, just was one number off with Anakin. Go figure. But it's one of those things where I need to go back and actually watch it just to kind of figure out what went wrong, what went right, how do I want to change maybe how I react. But it was really just keep your face as frozen and as neutral as possible, and try not to let anybody in on the fact that you are actually dying inside.
Wow.
Really
I mean, yeah, and watching that match, like I would have never known that you were thinking that, because to me, I thought you were just a stone cold killer in that whole situation, and you continued to play it great. I think watching it, we were commenting saying she just went perfect in round 2 and went perfect in round 3. Like, she's playing amazing, and like to lose by 1 point by 1 year, I still think anybody on that day, you beat anybody. I think you beat Damon on that day because you were just playing amazing. And so I just want to say thank you. I know it was a hard loss, but thank you from the fans, because I think that really showed us about you and how great you are, and not as a losing point, but more just how great you are. And you are great. And I became a huge more fan of you because it's just amazing what you did in that match.
Thank you. That means so much. So really, thank you so much for saying.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you for letting me come on and ask that question, because I've been wanting to ask you for so long, but I was like, we haven't got to be able to talk to you since the last time we had you on our show. But thank you very much for just being an awesome person, great in the community. Also, your great tweets about Star Wars. I love them, and just about life. So I just want to say thank you, Laura. You're just a great, awesome person. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Shug. That really means a lot. Thank you.
No problem.
Hell yeah. And we're actually gonna have Shug here in about 10 minutes is gonna be back on to wrap up the show with us, talking about all the off-season stuff with Dan and I. But one last thing I want to say before you do your social media plugs and whatnot, Laura. On the episode, that final episode of Mandalorian, when we saw the girl power scenes and they were running through there kicking ass, I thought of you. And that's not a flattering move on my part. I really did. It was great to watch that in particular. But when your tweets were brought up, that's what made me think about you in that moment, was from your tweets, because you do put out great tweets and they make a lot of sense, and it's a lot better than reading all that garbage out there. But now I'm rambling on and I can see it in Frenchie's eyes. Laura Kelly, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you out on the social media?
Sure, you can come follow me on Twitter. My handle is @shutup_Laura. I'm on Instagram as well, that same handle, but not quite as active as I am on Twitter. And then I host a show on YouTube with John Roca on his channel called The Jedi Way. So you can come hear us talk about some sort of like big picture, big themes, usually sometimes character focused things in the Star Wars universe. And then my friend Alice and I have a podcast that we host called Force Toast, a Star Wars happy hour, where we drink wine and talk about Star Wars, and we do Star Wars trivia. And it's just a fun, silly time. It's a bi-weekly show. So you can check that out on forcetoastpod.com.
Excellent. Thank you for your time very much. We appreciate it, and really looking forward to seeing what unfolds for you in the draft, and then what comes for you in this upcoming season. And I've said it before, and I have no shame saying it at all in public. I have always been rooting for you to take that title away from Alex Damon, and I still am. Good luck, Laura. Good luck. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, guys. It was great to talk to you. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, ma'am.